In the hush between twilight and dream, where feathers fall like whispers and the sky holds its breath, a doorway quietly opens to a world just beyond the clouds. High above the quiet world, where night stretches out like a soft velvet sea, something stirs in the sky. Not a sound, not a shout, but the hush of feathers drifting through the dark. One by one they fall, light as breath, glowing faintly in the starlight. A river made of air winds silently through the heavens, too high for clouds, too quiet for wind. It glistens with a light not of the sun or moon, but of memory, of dreams forgotten the moment you wake. On that river, something drifts slowly forward. A small boat, delicate and pale, made entirely of downy feathers, each one layered with care as if placed there by the breeze itself. It carries no sail, no oar, no engine, only the calm rhythm of the sky to guide it. At its helm sits an owl, eyes half closed in a timeless blink, feathers soft as dusk, gaze filled with the wisdom of dreams. The boat glides through constellations, as if reading the stories written in the stars. Its path gentle and unhurried, its purpose quiet yet certain. Some say that this boat appears only to those who are ready, not ready in the way of grown-ups and calendars and clocks, but ready in the way that children are when they finally let go of their day. Those who see it are already halfway dreaming, already halfway home. It never calls out, it simply waits. And if you are still and open and listening, you might notice a flicker of movement just outside your window. You might feel a tug in your chest, a lightness in your limbs, as if you've been chosen to float. What would it be like, you wonder, to step onto a boat made of feathers and sail through the sky with only an owl to guide you? Where would it take you? What would you leave behind? What would you remember? Tonight will begin. Close your eyes now and begin to breathe, as if the sky itself were breathing with you. In through your nose, slow and quiet, and out through your mouth, like a soft breeze slipping through tall grass. Each breath arrives like a feather landing gently in your chest. You are here, and here is safe. Let the day melt behind you. Let its sounds grow distant, like echoes fading into soft twilight. With every inhale, you invite stillness. With every exhale, you let go. There is nothing left to do. There is nowhere to be but here. Feel the weight of your body beginning to shift. It is not heaviness, but release. Your shoulders loosen, your neck softens. The tension that lived behind your eyes has begun to dissolve. Let it melt like snow into a warm pool of quiet. Your arms are long and loose at your sides. Your hands rest without needing to hold anything. Your legs stretch out with ease. Your feet are no longer pressed to the ground. They too begin to forget. With each breath, you become softer, lighter, as if the bed itself were a cloud and you were drifting slowly down into its center. Above you, the sky deepens. It is not dark, not exactly. It is the color of dreams before they form. Gentle silver glows around the edges of your thoughts. The air carries the hush of feathers brushing past each other. Every sound you hear is a whisper meant for your ears. Alone, there is a quiet rhythm, like a lullaby you once knew, and it is all around you now. The wind no longer moves. Time no longer matters. You are safe. You are seen. You are floating in a space that asks nothing of you. You are held by softness so complete that even your thoughts begin to rest. Imagine now that the feather boat is near, not yet visible, but felt, like a memory at the edge of waking. It draws closer, not with noise or light, but with presence. Your breath aligns with its rhythm. The sleepy owl turns its head as if it already knows your name. Let yourself fall gently into stillness. There is no need to try. The sky has taken the weight from your shoulders. The air has gathered your worries and sent them away on a passing cloud. You are not falling, you are floating. You are not leaving, you are arriving. And just ahead, the feather boat waits in silence, its soft hull bobbing gently on the sky river, ready to carry you into a place where dreams unfold like wings. There was a girl who lived at the very top of a tall, quiet house, just beneath the rooftop where the wind hummed its secret songs. Her bedroom was tucked into the attic, with slanted ceilings and a wide round window that looked out into the open sky. She spent her days in silence and her nights in watching, while others filled their time with noise and errands and plans. She watched the sky. It changed every hour, every day, but always held something familiar. She would lie in bed and trace the shifting shapes of clouds, the trails of birds, the curve of the moon when it tilted like a silver smile. In her small room were shelves, lined with feathers collected over years of wondering. Some were ordinary small, gray, windblown. Others shimmered faintly under certain light. As if remembering something long forgotten, she kept a notebook by her pillow, filled with sketches and questions. What does a star look like up close? Where do clouds go when they fall asleep? Why do some feathers feel warmer than others? There was no urgency to these questions, only quiet curiosity. The kind that doesn't ask to be answered, only explored. Though she never told anyone, she often dreamed of boats that didn't need water, of rivers that ran through the sky instead of the earth. Sometimes she felt them near, just beyond the window, as if the world were waiting for her to notice. Every evening, as the sky darkened and the wind curled softly against the glass, she would sit cross-legged on her bed and rest her chin in her hands. Her eyes would grow heavy, not with sleep, but with longing, a gentle, floating kind of longing that had no name. She did not wish to leave her world behind. She only wished to see what lay beyond the clouds. Just once, just to know what it felt like to float with nothing beneath her but air, and to travel somewhere unknown but kind, somewhere soft, somewhere dreamed. She always wondered what lay beyond the sky. It began on a night much like any other. The girl lay beneath her window, wrapped in her favorite quilt, listening to the hush of evening. The stars had just begun to appear, blinking slowly into place like sleepy eyes. The moon hung low and golden, casting a soft spill of light across her pillow. All was as it always was, and yet the air felt different. Still, but not empty. Quiet, but not silent. As if something was listening back. Then, without warning or sound, a feather drifted through the open window. It did not fall like a normal feather. It floated with intention, its path slow and spiraling, glowing faintly at the edges with a silvery warmth. It landed on her blanket without a sound. She stared at it for a long moment, not reaching out, only watching. It shimmered like a small piece of moonlight that had grown tired of shining from afar. She leaned closer and saw that it was unlike any feather in her collection. It was soft, impossibly soft, and carried a scent she could not place, something like wind and memory and the pages of an old book. Before she could move, another presence arrived. Perched on the window frame was an owl, larger than any she had ever seen. Its feathers were the color of dusk, soft and speckled, and its eyes were half-lidded with the slow calm of deep knowing. It did not blink, it simply waited. The owl did not speak, yet the girl understood. It had not come to ask, it had come to guide. She sat up slowly, placing the strange feather gently on her nightstand. Her bare feet touched the wooden floor. The house was silent behind her, the rest of the world asleep, and yet she felt more awake than she ever had. The owl turned its head toward the window and looked out, drawn by something she could not name. She followed, out the window, across the narrow ledge, onto the rooftop. The air was cool, the breeze quiet and steady, and there, resting atop the clouds, as if they were water, floated a small boat made entirely of feathers. It shimmered in the moonlight, delicate and perfect, waiting with the patience of dreams. She did not hesitate. She climbed in. The feathers gave beneath her weight, not collapsing, but cradling. The owl joined her, landing soundlessly at the helm. The boat rocked once, gently, then began to glide forward. The sky river had opened, and her journey had begun. The feather boat moved without effort, gliding over the sky as if it were water, though there were no waves and no shore. Beneath them, the stars rippled like reflections, shimmering with each motion of the boat as though stirred by its passage. The sky river was vast and endless, curving in soft spirals through layers of cloud that glowed faintly from within. The air was cool and filled with a hush so complete it felt sacred. Every breath the girl took seemed to echo in the quiet, blending with the rustle of feathers beneath her and the occasional soft flutter of the owl's wings as it adjusted its place at the helm as they drifted farther from the world below. New shapes began to appear. Islands made of mist floated lazily in the distance, each one unique. On one, there were trees that held glowing lanterns in place of fruit. On another, small, fox-like creatures made of cloud tails and starlight danced along the branches, their laughter silent but visible in the shimmer of their movement. The girl leaned forward, eyes wide, heart light. Everything felt like a dream she had almost had once, but never fully remembered. She looked to the owl, but it only blinked slowly, as if to say this was exactly where she was meant to be. They passed under a bridge made entirely of light, its arch so high it brushed the curve of the moon. Beneath them, the sky deepened into a shade of blue she had never seen before, so rich it seemed to hum. At one point, a small school of silver birds flew past underwater, or was it under sky flapping their wings, as if swimming through a deeper layer of clouds. She reached out, and one of them brushed her fingertips before vanishing into the soft air. The boat responded to her wonder, moving faster when her eyes lit up, slower when she leaned back to rest. It seemed to know where she was looking, as if following her thoughts. Each moment brought something new. A flock of glass-winged butterflies that flew in slow spirals around the boat. A drifting treehouse tethered to a balloon that smelled faintly of cinnamon. A wind that carried the sound of chimes, though no chimes could be seen. She began to lose track of time. It no longer mattered how long they had been sailing, only that they were sailing still. With every breath, she felt herself becoming lighter, not in body, but in spirit. Whatever worries she had once carried had drifted off somewhere behind her. There was no need to ask where they were going. The question did not seem to fit this place. The owl turned its head just slightly, as if listening to something far away. Ahead, a glow began to appear in the distance, not harsh or bright, but warm and inviting. The feather boat shifted toward it, the sky opening wide to welcome them. Something was waiting there, something old and soft and full of meaning she had not yet remembered. The journey had only just begun. The glow ahead unfolded slowly, like dawn blooming in the distance. As the feather boat approached, the light revealed itself, not as fire or sun, but as warmth itself, something you could feel before you could see. It came from a small island, resting gently in the sky, shaped like a nest. Curved edges of cloud wrapped protectively around it, and the air above it was thick with drifting feathers, all swirling in slow motion, as if time moved differently there. The boat slowed on its own, gliding forward with reverence, and came to a stop at the edge, where soft moss covered the sky like a meadow. The girl stepped out, her feet sinking slightly into the feathered earth, and a hush seemed to settle even deeper over everything. It was not a silence of emptiness, but one of memory. She moved without thought, drawn forward by something she could not name, until she reached the center of the island, where a circle of stones surrounded a low place, filled with down and wool and the scent of lavender. It felt like a place someone long ago had made to hold dreams. She knelt without knowing why, as she touched the feathers around her. A memory came to her, not like a flash or a picture, but like warmth rising through her chest. She was small again, younger, tucked in someone's arms. A quiet room, a storm outside, and soft humming close to her ear. It was her grandmother, rocking gently in a wooden chair, the rhythm matching the rise and fall of breath, the scent of tea, the sound of rain, a feather from the old pillow drifting through the air. She had not thought of it in years, but now it was here, as real as the sky around her. She could feel the comfort of it, the stillness, the feeling of being protected without even needing to ask. She stayed like that for a while, not needing words. The owl watched from the edge of the nest, eyes half closed, patient. It knew this was why they had come, not for adventure or discovery, but for this soft return to something forgotten. When she finally rose, she carried a stillness in her heart that hadn't been there before. The world felt different now. Not because it had changed, but because something inside her had. Back in the boat, the feathers seemed even softer beneath her, the sky even wider. She looked once more at the island as they pulled away, the nest slowly disappearing into the folds of cloud. She held the warmth close, pressed gently against her ribs like a heartbeat, and yet something still felt unfinished. The feather boat moved onward, more slowly now, as if the sky itself were holding its breath. Around them, the stars began to shift, no longer scattered at random, but forming soft paths and sweeping curves like pages waiting to be read. The air felt thicker, filled with the weightless hush of stories never spoken aloud. The girl sat quietly, hands folded in her lap, eyes watching the sky change. She felt calmer now, steadier, as though she carried something with her she had not known she needed. Ahead, the sky river narrowed into a winding ribbon of silver mist. The owl stirred slightly, tilting its head toward a new place forming on the horizon. It was not an island this time, but a structure vast, floating, and quiet. A library, suspended in the air. It rose from the clouds like a cathedral of light and memory. Its walls were not solid, but made of woven wind and glass, and inside, rows of shelves spiraled upward like branches of a great tree. Books floated gently between them, opening and closing as if breathing in sleep. The boat came to rest at its entrance. The girl stepped onto a floor that felt like polished wood, but looked like rippling sky. Inside, there was no sound except the turning of pages. She wandered slowly, the air thick with the scent of old paper and something sweeter, like lilac or memory. Each book hovered just within reach, waiting without pressure. She touched one, and it opened itself with a quiet flutter. Inside, instead of words, was a dream she had once had. She watched it play across the page like a moving picture. She was younger, running through a field that no longer existed, chasing the tail of a kite that danced too high to catch. She had not remembered it until now. Book after book revealed dreams she had forgotten. A music box filled with stars. A staircase that led to a sky painted with colors that did not exist in waking life. A voice calling her name from just beyond a curtain of rain. And then she found a book smaller than the others. It glowed faintly and trembled when she reached for it. Inside was a memory not of joy, but of absence. A moment when she had waited for someone who never came. She did not cry, but she sat with the book for a long time, holding it gently in her hands, feeling the weight of it settle into her heart. The owl sat beside her now, silent and still. Near the center of the library stood a pedestal, and resting on it was a single feather. Unlike the others, this one pulsed with light from within, not bright, but steady. She walked toward it and placed her hand over it, and as she did, she felt something unlock. Not a door, but a feeling, a quiet knowing, the sense that she did not have to hold every memory alone, that some dreams could be shared, even the ones made of silence, even the ones that never came true. She turned back to the boat, her steps slow, her heart full. Behind her, the library dimmed, but did not disappear. It would be there if she ever needed it again. The owl spread its wings and lifted gently, guiding the boat once more into the sky. They sailed on, the stars shifting above them like soft lanterns dot, and though she felt deeper now than she ever had, though the sky stretched endlessly on, she could not help but wonder what more there was to find. The sky was quieter now, as if even the stars had paused to rest. The boat moved gently through a thin veil of mist, its feathers trailing soft lines through the air. The girl sat with her hands in her lap, her eyes not on the sky this time, but turned inward. The library had not overwhelmed her, nor had it asked her to remember everything. It had simply shown her that what she had once held and lost, what she had once dreamed and forgotten, still lived somewhere inside her. It had always been there, waiting for a still moment, a quiet sky, and an open heart. She thought of the books she had touched, especially the small, glowing one. There had been no blame in its pages, no bitterness, only the feeling of waiting. She understood now that not all things are meant to be answered. Some are meant to be carried, not as burdens, but as pieces of who we are. The memories she had once feared to revisit had softened. They no longer held sharp edges. They were gentle now, weathered by time and by the simple act of being seen. The owl turned to her then. Its eyes were wide and endless, filled with a kindness that asked for nothing. She met its gaze, and, for a long moment, they simply looked at one another. In that silence, something passed between them. Not a message, not a voice, but a quiet understanding. She was not lost. She was not broken. She had been gathering herself. All along, a breeze rose around them, warm and steady. The boat responded, turning slightly as if sensing the shift in her heart. She leaned back, letting her body rest against the curve of the feathers. For the first time in a long time, she felt complete, not in the way of having all the answers, but in knowing that she didn't need them. She was enough, she was whole, and she was ready to see what came next. And then, just as she thought it was over, the sky ahead began to shimmer again. A new light, strange and beautiful, flickered like a candle just out of reach. The owl lifted its head toward it. The girl followed its gaze. There was still one more place to go. The shimmer ahead was unlike anything she had seen before. It danced and flickered, not like fire, but like thought, like the moment just before a dream forms. The feather boat drifted closer, and the sky around them began to change. The stars no longer hung in still patterns, but swirled in soft spirals, moving gently as if stirred by an invisible tide. The clouds below them opened into pools of color that pulsed with emotion, pale gold that felt like joy, silver that felt like sorrow, soft violet that wrapped around her like a lullaby. The sky itself seemed to be listening without a word. The owl dipped its wings, and the boat began to rise. Not forward, not upward, but in a direction that had no name. Time slowed. The air thickened. The boat turned slowly until it tipped on its side and then completely upside down. And yet, she did not fall. The feathers held her, weightless and calm, as though gravity had gently forgotten her. She looked around and realized the stars were now beneath her and the sky was above. She stood carefully and found herself walking on nothing at all, or perhaps on starlight made solid by wonder. Each step sent tiny glimmers across the surface. The owl glided ahead, not flying but floating, its wings barely moving. And then, just ahead, a door appeared. Not set into a wall, not part of any structure, simply standing in the air, tall and narrow, glowing at the edges. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat, like breath. She approached it, and it opened before she could touch it. On the other side was not a room, but a space filled with sound. Not voices, not music, but something between them. Notes made of light, melodies that shimmered like morning mist. She stepped through, and the sound wrapped around her like a warm wind. Shapes moved through the air, not solid, but familiar fragments of memories, thoughts, pieces of dreams. A bell she once heard as a child. The scent of a place she never found again. Laughter that had no source. In the center of it all was a mirror made of sky. It showed her not as she was, but as she felt, soft, glowing, surrounded by light and motion, not perfect, but whole. She stepped closer, and the reflection smiled. Not a wide, joyful smile, but a quiet one, filled with knowing. It did not ask her to stay. It simply offered itself, and then faded, like morning mist before the rising sun. The owl called softly, a sound like wind brushing through trees. The shimmer around them began to fold in, gently, like a page being turned. She returned to the boat, and this time the feathers seemed to lift her rather than hold her. Everything was lighter now. The strange light faded behind them. The stars returned to their still places. The sky quieted again. Whatever that place had been, it had not needed to explain itself. It had been a gift, a whisper, a final shimmer meant only for her. And now the feather boat was turning once more. The journey was not over, but home was near. The feather boat moved with a new kind of stillness, not heavy, but full. The sky, which had shimmered and danced with light, now smoothed into deep velvet calm. The stars above no longer swirled in wild spirals, but drifted gently in their quiet. Constellations, like lanterns, slowly returning to their places. The air carried the hush of farewell. Not sad, only soft, like the final note of a lullaby that lingers in the air after the music ends. The girl sat quietly at the edge of the boat, her legs tucked beneath her, hands resting in her lap. She did not speak. There was no need. Something inside her had settled, like feathers floating slowly to rest. The owl was still beside her, silent as always, but its presence was no longer mysterious. It felt like an old friend, like a guide she had known in another life, or perhaps in every dream she had ever had. Ahead, the sky began to change once more, but this time it was not into something strange or unknown. It was becoming familiar. There, in the distance, the faint outline of rooftops began to appear. A narrow chimney, the round window at the top of a tall house, her room. The boat began to descend slowly, spiraling in soft loops as if savoring these final moments. As they drew near, the girl noticed she was still holding something in her hand. A feather, small and glowing faintly, pulsing gently, like the echo of everything she had seen. She did not remember picking it up. Perhaps it had been with her all along. She held it close as the boat floated just outside her window, hovering. With the grace of a final breath, she turned to the owl. It blinked once, slowly, then lowered its head. No words were spoken. There was nothing more to say. She stepped lightly from the boat and back into her room, where the air was cool and still. The boat hovered for a moment longer, then began to rise, its feathers catching the moonlight one last time. She watched it go, her heart quiet and full. The feather in her hand grew warmer for a moment, then slowly dimmed, not disappearing, but becoming part of her, a memory she would carry, not to chase, but to keep. A reminder that the sky had once opened for her, that she had followed it. She had gone far, but all she needed was already inside her. She climbed into bed without a sound. The room welcomed her like a memory returning home. The moonlight spilled softly across her blankets, pooling on the floor like spilled cream, slow and pale. She lay back against the pillows, the feather still in her hand, though it no longer glowed. It didn't need to. Its light had found a home within her dot, outside the window. The sky had settled. The stars were quiet now, no longer pulsing, just watching. The wind had softened to a hush, barely touching the leaves, barely stirring the air. It was the sound of everything winding down, a final breath before sleep. She closed her eyes, and the feather boat drifted through her thoughts once more, its curved edges rocking gently across the sky river, always moving, always near. She imagined the owl still sailing through the clouds, guiding others now, blinking slow and steady beneath the stars. She imagined other children watching from their windows, feeling that same tug in their hearts, that quiet invitation to wonder, somewhere high above the rooftops and dreams of the world. The boat continued to sail, silent and sure. You are floating now. You are safe. You are wrapped in feathers and stars and the soft breath of night. You are lighter than air. The worries of the day are distant now. The edges of your thoughts are soft. You are carried gently, without effort. There is nothing you need to do. There is nothing you need to fix. All around you, the sky is holding you, quiet and wide, calm as sleep. Let your breath move like a breeze. Let your body sink like a cloud. Let your mind drift slowly, gently, into the quiet between stars. The night knows your name. The wind hums a lullaby written just for you. You are floating. You are still. You are already dreaming. The sky is dark now. The world is quiet. And you, dear one, are ready to rest. The room is still now. Even the moonlight seems to pause, resting in quiet shapes across the floor. Her breath has slowed, deep and even, as though she is floating once again. This time not through sky, but through sleep itself. The feather rests beside her on the pillow, no longer a guide, no longer glowing, just a small part of something much larger that now lives inside her. Outside, the night holds its breath. The stars shine without flickering. The wind no longer moves. Somewhere, above the clouds, in a place beyond waking, the feather boat sails on, its path invisible, its purpose complete. The owl is silent, its wings tucked in, its eyes closing with the slow rhythm of sleep. There is no more sky to cross tonight, no more questions to ask, only stillness, only rest. And now the world grows quiet, and now the dream begins, and now there is only peace.